This is Contractor Sense with Ruth King.
Welcome to Contractor Sense. Here you discover ideas, tactics, news, and information that matters to your contracting business and you. I'm your host, Ruth King. This episode is sponsored by Profitability Movement. Google Profitability-Movement to join this community of business owners focused on building profit, increasing wealth, and giving back. Thank you for joining us. Here is how we will help your business and you today. The media is predicting a recession. Some are saying we're already in one. Who really knows? Whether we are in one or not, the Fed has raised interest rates and bankers are taking notice. What can you do to protect your business and you so that your banker doesn't put you out of business? My guest, Jim Blasingame, also known as a small business advocate, will give you ideas on how to protect yourself. You might recognize Jim's name. He had a morning radio show for many years, and I was one of his Brain Trust members. Jim, welcome to Contractor Sense.
Hey, Ruth, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I miss your voice on the radio.
I know. I did my show for over 23 years, and you were with me a whole bunch of times during that period, and I missed those visits. But we're doing it now, and I'm looking forward to talking to you and helping your listeners.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because Jim and I hadn't talked for, since you stopped doing the radio show almost, maybe once or twice after that. Yeah. And I was running the other day and Jim's name just popped into my head and it was like, I got to have him on my show.
I have that effect on people, but not always in a good way.
So anyway, you've always been an advocate of, talk to your banker, communicate with your banker, make sure they know what's going on, good, bad, or indifferent. And we're now entering a time frame where, whether we participate in the recession or not, a banker can put you out of business. I've seen it happen in good times where banks changed management policies and they decided they didn't like your loan anymore. Happened to, 3 contractors I know. They went out of business. So, I mean, from a perspective of what can business owners, contractors do now so that bankers won't say, we're calling this loan?
Well, one of the things I'd like to do when you have as much white hair as I have, Ruth, you're prone to call on history. And I think that's one of the things that I bring to the table for folks is this isn't my first goat roping in coming into bad, tough economic times like we are right now. I definitely agree. I definitely think we're already in a recession. I remember, speaking of history, I remember when people were talking about what was going on in 2008. I called the recession in fourth quarter 2007, and I was right. We were already in a recession when we hit 2008. And of course, everybody knows what happened after that. I think we're already in a recession. I don't know how long it's going to last, but here's something that just to set the table.
Okay.
There are three groups of people that are the most important people in your business's life. First is customers, of course. Second is employees, and third is your banker. If you're a small business owner, by definition, that means you're undercapitalized. It is redundant to say undercapitalized small business. Every small business is undercapitalized. Consequently, by definition, for any bank to make you a loan, it qualifies as a risky loan. There are no small business loans that are made that don't default to a risky loan, but obviously they make them because banks are in the risk business. But if you remember what happened, Ruth, after 2008, after the financial collapse, yep. 14 years ago this month, banks got caught with their credit problems. And their balance sheets were upside down, and the Fed came after them, and the big banks literally shut down small business loans. Even the cherry picking solid gold customers that they knew no way they were ever going to default. If it was a small business, the big banks, and I'm talking about the large ones, Bank of America, those kinds of guys, they literally made no loans to small businesses of any kind because they were trying to save their own hides. Well, during that same period, Ruth, while you and I were talking on my show, I was interviewing community bankers during that same period, and I asked them, what are you doing? Are you loaning money? And have you stopped loaning money because of the financial collapse? And every single one of them, and I in those days especially, I was working closely with community bankers and the independent community bankers of America all across the country, the national group, and every one of them never stopped loaning money to a bank, to small business owners. Community bankers are a small business owner's best friend. And so if you think about what happened in 2008, a lot of you saw this happen, Ruth. You saw businesses who had only done business with big companies, big banks. All of a sudden, they didn't have any credit. Well, I've been telling people this for over 20 years. If you're a small business, you must have at least one of your banking relationships with a community bank. I'm not telling you not to do business with the big guys, but I'm telling you, you must have. And I recommend your primary bank, the one that you count on the most, the one you talk to the most, is a community bank, because community bankers will not let you down. They've never let me down, and they've never let the people that I know down. And so here we are now. Oh, by the way, a little more history. Do you remember when we had we had COVID and we had the PPP program, right?
Yep.
Well, I heard horror stories about how the large banks did not respond. There's no question they did not respond to their small business community people in the community, small business owners in the community. And in the first 5 days, community banks excelled in making PPP loans, way ahead of the big banks. So I don't know how many people called me and said, I've got a big bank, but I can't get them I can't get anything out of them for my PPP. I sent them to a local community bank and they got it done within 3 days.
Oh, yeah.
That was another example. I'm just going to say this. My point is, look at those two things that have happened in the last 14 years. And now look where we are. And you tell me that this isn't the time to either get or stay cozy with your community bank.
No, I agree. It's totally the right thing. I followed your advice 20 years ago or however long ago it was, and I have two banks. Neither one of them is a big bank, but one of them is definitely a community bank. So when we get back from break, we will continue this discussion. Jim, if somebody wants to talk with you or reach out with you, where do they go?
Yeah, my website is smallbusinessadvocate.com. If you want to know a little bit more just about me and my books, for example, all that's on that site, but you can also go to jimblasingame.com.
Cool. We'll be right back. Thanks for listening to Contractor Sense.
Many times, relatives are recruited to do your company's books without knowing how to do the books. Or you hire a bookkeeper who really doesn't know bookkeeping. If this is you, then your books are probably inaccurate. You probably pay more taxes than you should, and you rarely look at a P&L and balance sheet because you know they are wrong. What do? Have your bookkeeper enroll in Ruth King's Contractor Bookkeeping Basics. After completing this online course, your bookkeeper will know bookkeeping. You'll get accurate financial statements that help you make good business financial decisions. To enroll, click on the link in the show notes or call us at 770-729-0258. Enroll today.
We're back. Thanks for listening to Contractor Sense. I'm speaking with Jim Blasingame, who is the Small Business Advocate, and website is smallbusinessadvocate.com or jimblasingame.com. So before the break, Jim, we talked about why we need to be working with community banks rather than the big banks. And let's talk about specifics now.
Well, and the main thing is you should always work with a community bank as your prime bank, but especially now, you've got to do that. If you don't have a community bank relationship, please don't let the sun set on you today. Do not let the sun set on you today without without finding somebody who is associated with the community bank, get an introduction and go in there and talk to a loan officer. You could talk to the president. If you go talk into a community bank, you got a good shot at talking to the leader of the whole thing. So here's what you got to do. Make sure we're going into a tough time. There's no question about that. The policies coming out of the Fed, coming out of Washington, are creating most of this problem we've got right now. It's not your fault, small business owners. Remember that. Remind anybody who asked you, remind your banker, this is not your fault. Whatever's happening, you didn't do this. Other people created this problem, but you've got to live with it. And so find out, do a projection on what you think would happen if your business was off 10%, 20%, and do a projection on that. Go talk to your banker and show them that you're planning for this. Even if it doesn't happen, even if you're not asking for a loan, even if you tell them you don't need a loan, show your banker that you're not asleep at the switch, that you're not out here acting like everything's going to be great in the future. I don't want you to be afraid of the future. I just want you to plan for the future. So show your banker that you know what's going on, and that these are the things that you're doing to make sure that your business is solid. Tell them you're keeping your receivables tight. You're managing your cash flow. You're watching your spending. Whatever operating fundamentals you can focus on, show them you're doing that. Even if it's, take them to lunch and tell them these things, because if in a month or 2 or 3 or 6 you do need some money, you need some help because things have gotten upside down, and you go back to your banker, you don't want that to be the first time you've talked to your banker. Never let your first conversation with a banker about a loan be your first conversation with them. Make sure that you have visited with them. Hey Ruth, you know how sometimes when you need a favor from somebody, the best conversations like that is when they owe you a favor. You know what I mean? You just did something nice for them, and 6 months later you call them and you say, hey, I need your help. What am I going to say? Great. Yeah, absolutely. I owe you a favor. Well, go in and visit your banker and just giving them a report. Just tell them what you're doing. Tell them that how you're managing your business, how you understand how things are going, and give them that. Just have a visit with them like that. And then whenever you need them, if you need them, it won't be like they don't know who you are.
Yeah. An interesting story that came out of doing that was one of my clients wanted to work with this particular community bank, and he went to LinkedIn and found out that one of his best friends, that they had never talked about it, was connected with the bank president, and they knew each other.
Yep.
So it was real easy for him to get an introduction. But, without looking and seeing on something like LinkedIn, you might not know which one of your friends know who.
Let me use a word here that's really important that we include: relationships. Every small business owner knows that the key to their success is the relationships that they built with the customers and with the community. The only place on the planet where you will find relationships active in the financial industry is in community banks. There are no relationships in the big banks. They're not, and it's not that they're being mean or it's just they can't do it. They can't do what they do. Big banks can't, and treat you manage your business with you with what I call relationship banking. Community bankers do relationship banking, and what that means is if you got a problem, they'll sit down, they'll work it out with you. I've just seen it too many times.
Yeah.
And you'll never be more than one person, probably more than one person away from the ultimate decision. Your loan officer might not be the one making the final decision, but the person who is, or the group that is just in the next office.
Yeah.
Not in some town at 200 miles away. People don't even know you.
Yeah, exactly. They're only looking at a piece of paper, they're not looking at you. So cool. Very good. So where we're going with this, if you've listened, is go make a connection with a community bank. Go look on LinkedIn or go ask Facebook or something like that for ideas of people who are working with community bankers and get them to make an introduction, or pick up the
Talk
phone
to
and
your
say,
Chamber of Commerce. Your
Yeah.
Chamber of if you're a member of the Chamber of Commerce, talk to the bank, the Chamber president, or talk to somebody there and tell them, ask them, because I promise you, the community banks are members of the Chamber of Commerce.
oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are really good ways to do it. So the other thing that as we're going through this that you can talk to a banker about is some of my 2 rules of thumb, and you and I have talked about this a long time ago, is making sure that no more than 20% of your business is with any one industry or any
Right.
one customer.
The Pareto principle.
Yeah, I got it. And so if you can show a banker, hey, this is where we are now. We have 30% of our business with this particular industry, but here's what we're doing to drop that. And if you can do that now, rather than 6 months from now when you might need them, they'll remember.
That's right.
And they'll pay attention.
Those are all fundamentals. And this is the thing that I especially stress to the young business owner. Fundamentals are not old school. Fundamentals are not new school. Fundamentals are the school. And these school fundamentals were valid 1,000 years ago. They'll be valid 1,000 years from now. They're valid today. What you just said is a fundamental, and just make sure that let me tell you something. If I think I'm going to need a loan in the next 12 months, my banker knows it 6 months before I need it.
Yeah, you showed them a cash flow projection.
I have said, I can send you emails where I'd email my banker and I say, look, it's April. Here's where I'm probably going to need some money to cover a month or two when I've got something going on, and I've got an investment or whatever. And I tell them months in advance, and you know what they do? They write me back and they say, okay, let me know.
Yeah, absolutely. Final thoughts.
Final thoughts are, if you're a small business owner, and I know we've been saying this, but I got to say it again. If you're a small business owner and you don't have at least one, and preferably your significant bank relationship with a community bank, you are in jeopardy. My friends, right now, September 2022, going into where we're going into right now, if you don't have a relationship with a community bank, your business is in jeopardy. And I can't say it any more plainly than that.
Very good. Jim, thanks so much for being with us. Website again, please.
Smallbusinessadvocate.com, also jimblasingame.com.
Thank you very much.
Hey, can I say one thing, Ruth?
Sure.
Folks, listen to Ruth, smartest person I know.
Thanks, Jim. And thanks.
Bye-bye, Ruth.
Bye-bye. And thanks to all of you, too, for joining us. Choose one thing that you discover and implement it in your business. These ideas, tactics, and strategies help you make more money, have more free time, and give back. If you like today's program, spread the word. Please review this podcast on any device you're listening to it on. Help a fellow contractor make more money, too. For comments or questions, call me at 770-729-0258 or email Ruth King at hvacchannel.tv. Thanks for listening. Have a great and profitable day.